Throughout the massive military, there is a hidden world in aviation, goes well beyond ordinary airplanes that are invisible to the public collection of enigmatic helicopters, hover somewhere over the clouds, today are cloaked in mystery. In this video, we will discuss all of the most enigmatic American military aircraft and address all the illogical theories. In connection with them, Antelope Valley white manta, a longtime residence for many military installations and contractors for the government for the American defense sector, between California's Lancaster and Palmdale. The U.S. Air Force is located on 300 acres, Plan 42, Northrop Grumman Skunk. Works NASA and Boeing Armstrong Flight, the research center located to the north of there, and a small bit of Edwards Air Force Base, the U.S. Naval Base at China Lake, lies further on the base, not to mention the enigmatic Groom Lake Zone, or just a location is intentionally made to draw every person seeking encounters with a very confidential matter. Or one of these objects is alien, is regarded as the TR-3, a black hypersonic reconnaissance aircraft, Manta supposedly American-developed aircraft Northrop and the Air Force, which provided us with the renowned V-2 Spirit stealth. Several reports suggest the Astra as the bomber Aurora, as well as the SR-91 project, is being made in preparation to succeed the storied SR-71 Blackbird by Lockheed Airborne Reconnaissance Strategy, even if the TR-3 was probably the Aurora's forerunner, since the initiative lacked an identifiable presence. The design of the wings, which protrude, Black Manta was remade in line with the overly powerful cannons of stealth. Because of this, the apparatus was not just a black wing in flight, but all TR-3 surfaces were covered in a triangle. Using a radio observational polymer of altering its color and reflectance, paired with sophisticated reconnaissance, it might occur on electronic devices, a tiny or cylindrical radar object in flight. The center of the strange aircraft was believed to be a mercury power plant. Employing high-pressure nuclear energy is used to produce plasma that produced a nearly complete A field of anti-gravity, encircling the craft. 89% of its weight has been cut back. This configuration has been characterized by professionals in the A-circular plasma, filled in the manner the magnetic accelerator ring, the rotatable, is surrounded by field disruptor and is significantly superior than any crew compartment conceivable innovation. The plasma mercury, the basis pressure, is 250,000. Atmospheres at 150 degrees Celsius and accelerated to 50,000 degrees Kelvin to produce a superconductive plasma, RPM, with the disruption of gravity as a consequence. Yes, as you have already heard, Black Manta evidently didn't give a damn about the rules of installed conventional thrusters in physics on the aircraft's ends, allowed it to quickly orient oneself in 3 axes reaches Mach 9. And the primary, the 238's restriction, was referred as the pilot's physiological limitations. It is difficult to dispute with him because the observation of this triangle, not just in the United States, but in other countries in the early 1990s, for instance. Eyewitnesses in Belgium recorded more than one image of a puzzling thing with 4 brilliant lights accidentally taking pictures, although most people thought it was a UFO Black Manta. According to some evidence, these spy vehicles to us were utilized to give, during the Gulf War, aiming lasers at a Lockheed F-117 targets to be destroyed by Nighthawk bombers. Others argued with laser-guided bombs. That the enigmatic aircraft was research undertaking in anticipation of the V-2 Spirits, acting as an example to evaluate aerodynamic remedies and the future's performance being improved in favor of the most recent IT bomber. It is important to note that the author of Northrop made both devices, but spending even on the growth of Black Manta compared to the exorbitant price Spirits appeared more cosmic at that period. The TR-3A eyes less than $3 billion. There are numerous technologies that even now, there appears to be a problem. Science fiction on the cusp, for instance, strong, far-reaching battle lasers, the capacity to alter the weather conditions within a specific radius using oneself and foreign objects. The design is centered on technologies collected by the government following the UFO crash in several regions of the planets, much of which we have already warned. What is said today will have the effect of remarks against science, so the only factor in perception is whether you wish to adhere to Fox's teachings, Mulder's X-Files poster, in which declares, "I want to trust almost everything American military aviation undercover." Since the 1960s, projects have included, even though it's the most well-known, sneaky American stealth planes, include the We Desire to Buy a Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit. I'd want to call your attention to the absence whom the Spirit would go on for all time we are referring to. The Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk was retained under development. Nighthawk F-117 has stringent enough secrecy that only a few senior Pentagon officials were aware. Regarding the presence of this aircraft additionally because of the really hazy thoughts on the tools and the testimony of a few witnesses who were present when the mythology of the sky's odd figures, a stealth fighter called the F-19, was created. Allegedly, non-existent airplane, even the 6th generation had a child. Hillary is a model from Revel Monogram, and Chester, each of whom was alleged to have produced sets based on images of a plane that just left Area 51. In the summer, fuel was added to the fire. 1986, the year that the actual Nighthawk crashed, a lot of media outlets in California used the F-19 test store model to illustrate what the fallen object appeared to be naturally this. Renewed the public's interest in the F-19 legend is ironic, in that after one of the participants in the incidents was a Ron Wyden, a representative in the House decided to question the management of Lockheed why the aircraft that is concealed even from congressmen is frequently promoted as this unusual gadget has an aircraft. Participated in G.I. Joe Transformers. Nintendo, Tom Clancy books, and comic books games. It appears that everyone was in agreement, accompanied by the knowledge that a one-of-a-kind warrior, but nobody could corroborate how it appeared when the F-117 was in operation, finally made its debut in the fall of 1988. Even the smallest hint that this was the exact same F-19 left on its own presumes that the inaccurate numbering F-117F indicates fighter, alluding to the weaponry of the apparatus was consciously opted to avoid the real motivation behind the future U.S. Following the F-117's first combat appearance upon its release in 1988, it wasted little time. For instance, during Operation Desert Storm stealth planes logged over 1,300 flights, totaled 6,900 hours. Sorties, almost 1,600 targets were destroyed. The only F-117 lost in combat objectives in the spring of 1999 dropped over Serbia. Throughout Kosovo's Nano campaign, when an aircraft detected hostile radar opened the doors to the bomb bay to release the pilot successfully evacuated from the payload. The Nighthawk lantern was also recovered. You can see the ejection seat and helmet. At the Belgrade War Museum right now, more fascinatingly, following the crash of the Parsi went to the Yugoslavs, with a 117 requesting the government to provide its debris, obtaining access to instruction systems, a covert body, and heat-resistant nozzle and engine parts based on the former head of the Military Command Center of Croatia, agents actively searched the vicinity of purchasing parts when the American plane crashed the airplanes from nearby farmers in order to learn the stealth technique keeping up with the parade of covert devices. These are necessary to mention. The RQ-170, the Kandahar Beast Sentinel UAE, likewise called the Wraith, which the Lockheed Company developed, American Martin Skunk Works division, the CIA, and the Air Force, notwithstanding drones actively fly above the world's trendiest locations. Gathering confidential intelligence is still in short supply. Information about them, U.S. Air Force refused to even confirm the gadgets existed until 2009. The one engine powers the RQ-170 Sentinel. Higher takeoff weight for a flying wing than the 8500 unit RQ-3 Darkstar pound. Surprisingly, it doesn't have the typical components of a stealth vehicle, include as the landing gear door with a zigzag edge, sharp edges at the front edge, and an exposed, although certain publications, wing exhaust, have claimed that this was an intentional due to the designer's choice ambiguity over the operational loss as a result of the vehicle's single-engine layout, and the desire to stay away from the potential for disclosing advanced stealth. The light gray color of the technology's drone also attracted the interest of enthusiasts, implying a maximum altitude of 50,000 feet, given that the United States still preferred to use stealth and painted aircraft. Darker hues to enhance stealth in the UAV was moved to in 2005. Afghanistan, the location of one of these gadgets, was observed in Kandahar International Airport, as a result of, was referred to as the Kandahar Beast. At least one of these drones saw the attacks against Osama bin Laden's residence Laden and the founder's abolition during Operation Neptune of al-Qaeda Iranian military engaged in Spear that year. I was able to catch one of these sharks when it was 140 miles away from the possible Iranian border, eavesdropping on the Iran's nuclear program, and international initiatives claimed to have hacked the craft. U.S. Department officials in midair disputed his assertion, stating that Iranians got the signal heading to the jammed Sentinel, then waited for it to due to an internal cause, land on its own difficulty with the takeoff and landing search program after it lost connection with the command components in the 2021 winter. One of them was photographed by an American south of Edwards Air Force. These drones base, and it was discovered a few while afterwards. Guam, which could indicate the installation of more advanced sensors, artificial aperture radar to operate across the South China Sea, was the most recent example the UAV's operation took place between September 2022 and February 2023. Over Russia, the Arkush 170 flew during strike on Ukraine by Ladder. That was cunning the tasks. The drones appeared to be performing investigation over the Black Sea, and most certainly keep an eye on the even as hostilities continue. But let's concluding on a science fiction note, specifically the creation of the bird of prey. Of Boeing and McDonnell Douglas, the good stuff that dates back to the 1990s. The previous Area 51, which was known for predator birds, its Klingon-like likeness from the cult television show Star Trek series, you read that correctly. A black project here once more, and there is stealth. How else could it be? Phantom Works is a department within Boeing was given the most classified, even a U.S. military's prototype. A cursory look at the resume of Alan Weichman, divisional vice president, demonstrates that Lockheed have blue, the stealthy F-117 Nighthawk jets, and the Shadow ship at sea. Stealth unexpectedly, the task of the Bird of Prey project was given to the bird's primary characteristic. Is this team attained its low radar profile? The gaps of a streamlined hull, the cockpit and flexible casings wings, a fuselage and landing gear were precisely positioned to prevent a single protruding piece. Was also the engine's intake system the engine was shielded from view in the front embedded far. Within the fuselage, covered by an air inlet and a lamp, the engine exhaust was in a duct. Redesigning something to lessen acoustics device's signature on a Minima Weichmann's team took up the issue in a radical manner, as opposed to creating tangible prototypes and putting changes to the test, and submitting fresh examples of their work computer assistants for design work modeling efficiency in accordance with the era's top computer skills. This enabled them to create an element. Prototypes that were a lot more similar to a better completed product than before the exams. Many had methods that this extraterrestrial aircraft wouldn't even have the ability to remove Phantom Works. Rudy Hogg, the chief pilot, managed to fold a paper word of prey form, and the model turned over before it was as a result of being flung downhill nevertheless in 1996-6. Curved wingtips. Hogg the bird was successfully grown into the air at a speed of 300 miles per hour, and the 20,000-foot ceiling where Boeing's not quite impressive experts weren't aiming to outperform the combatants at that moment. They showed it was possible to construct, and investing on stealthy airplanes is affordable. $67 million were spent on the project, which is even cheaper than the price. At this time, the alien F-35 Lightning II. As a result, a Hawk's wing has altered the laws of design and building of aircraft, causing some sort of change. The project was seen as only in 2002 was it declassified, and the bird's ancestry was evident in numerous new technologies, as those on the fall of debuted, the Boeing X-45A the year 2000, which made extensive use of reduced its radar visibility from the smooth body structure to the filling today. The Raptor is not seen. Not deep within Area 51, but rather in the National Air Force Museum in what else Wright-Patterson, Ohio, would you like to see a strange U.S. aircraft? To learn more, please inform us in the comment section. If you please like and subscribe to the video. The notification and change the channel ring for content similar to today's. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.